How's it going, everybody? It's Man Tomorrow here. Want to thank you guys for coming through. This is our third installment on week number 3 of Trump being in office. We're going to go over some things that he's done this actual week. Some I actually do surprisingly agree with. So we're going to go through a lot of these things, and the first thing on our list is the very first thing, which I which I thought was insane, was the President Trump announced the U.S. is going to take over Gaza. Okay, you know that the purported reason why Israel was ethnically cleansing those people in the first place was because they shot some rockets over and killed some people and kidnapped some people over there, and the response was an actual genocide campaign. Even though Israel has always been in violation of the actual agreement by never stop building settlements, but I guess they expect no type of retaliation whatsoever. So they've been on this bombing run for a very long time. And so Donald Trump shocked the world by saying that they're going to now displace all of those people who are left there and relocate these people other places while they quote unquote build up the actual space, and it's now going to be a U.S. territory. What? There's really no real reason or rationale for that. For me, having a place like that, U.S. based in the Middle East like that, man, it's just not a good thing. Not for me anyway. I don't think it's a good thing. It's a good idea at all. Period. Because it makes it look like the reason why the U.S. let Israel go all out on that area is because they planned on privatizing the thing after that it was done and displacing all those personnel that were there, which I think is insane. All right, let's go to the next item on this docket list. All right, so the next item on the list we go to is the USAID staff put on leave. Okay, I disagree with this. Elon Musk went over to the USAID organization. He wanted to see some classified documents, which he's not supposed to be seeing. So, in retaliation, he decided to put a whole bunch of people on paid leave. Again, Elon Musk is not actually confirmed by the Senate or anything. He's just a part of this Department of Government Accountability, and they're just walking in and just shutting down different parts of the government. Now, Donald Trump did not run on this. He did not run on this at all, but it's amazing how people are okay with fascism. Like a person who's the richest person in the world invests $250 million into a campaign. He is on good terms with Russia and China, but for some reason he's able to close down whole parts of the government in the United States, and absolutely nobody is saying anything about it because we want to be ran by billionaires, two billionaires. And I'm telling you, when it comes down for this budget to come up, they're going to cut a whole bunch of stuff under the guise of quote unquote wasteful spending. And they're going to cut a whole bunch of stuff for working class people because how they got to be billionaires in the first place is getting idiots to actually believe in this actual globalization thing and restructuring that money that normally would be paid to American families to factories overseas and saved everything from it. You can say what you want to about NAFTA and all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, the Republicans made NAFTA what NAFTA was. There was a lot of people lying in this space about what the actual NAFTA vote was. Remember, the House and the Senate were Republican. Bill Clinton was the president. Bill Clinton don't pass laws. Granted, he didn't veto it, but then again, he also did not pass that law through the House and the Senate. So what does the USAID do? Because most people around this space was using the USAID by just saying, "Oh, Democrats getting exposed by USAID," but All right. The United States Agency for International Development is a United States government agency responsible for administering foreign aid and development assistance. Its mission is to promote global economic development, humanitarian aid, disaster relief, democracy building efforts around the world. So there's about seven pieces to it. The first piece is the humanitarian assistance, provides emergency aid during natural disasters, conflict, and food crises. And an example of this will be in 2023, the response to the earthquake that happened in Turkey and Syria. USAID provided emergency food, shelter, and medical supplies to the affected communities. Also, during the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, USAID has sent humanitarian aid to include cash assistance and medical support to displaced families because it is mostly a war against civilians who are trapped there and the military forces who are actually trying to fight there. So the second part of USAID is global health, supports initiatives to combat diseases like HIV, AIDS, malaria, COVID-19, and promotes maternal and child health, which is vitally important in the third world. So an example of this is the president's emergency plan for U.S. aid relief that helps millions of people in Africa receive antiretroviral treatment for HIV/AIDS. USAID also helped with the distribution of COVID-19 vaccines to low-income countries throughout the actual initiative of what happened there. Third part of it, democracy and governance. Help strengthen democratic institutions, rule of law, and human rights. An example of this is supporting election monitoring in Kenya to ensure fair and transparent elections in 2022. In Afghanistan, USAID worked on promoting women's rights and supporting independent media before the Taliban took over. And we know what happened when the Taliban took over. So, number four, economic growth and trade. Encourages economic development, job creation, and trade partnerships. The example of this is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, supported by USAID, helps African businesses export goods to the US duty free. Another example of this is USAID funds microfinance programs in Latin America, providing loans to entrepreneurs to start businesses. The fifth part of it is education, supports access to quality education, literacy programs, and higher education initiatives. Most of the examples of this is the USAID Let Girls Learn initiative helped millions of girls in developing countries given access to quality education. In Pakistan, USAID helped rebuild over 1,000 schools destroyed by floods and conflict within that area. Sixth part of this is agriculture and food safety, works to improve farming techniques, food production, and access to nutrition. Examples of this, USAID had the Feed the Future initiative that helped farmers in Ethiopia increase crop yields and improve food security. Another thing that USAID has actually done was provide drought resistant seeds to farmers of sub Saharan Africa to combat climate change efforts. And the actual seventh part is climate change and actual environment. Supports sustainability, clean energy, and climate change mitigation efforts. Examples of this is the USAID has funded reforestation projects in the Amazon to combat deforestation and protect biodiversity. In the Philippines, USAID have supported renewable energy projects to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Now, that is what USAID does. I don't know why on earth that somebody wanted to get rid of something like that. At the end of the day, this stuff does do good work. And when it does do good work for actual people, that is what billionaires want to cut. I repeat that. They don't give a damn about people at all. I'm not sure how evangelical Christians or even side up with people who do nonsense like this, but that's the actual organization that they want to shut down. That Elon Musk has put a whole bunch of people on paid administrative leave at. Unbelievable. None of that stuff sounds negative that they actually do. all that stuff that they do sounds pretty damn positive, if you ask me. Of course, at the beginning of the week, Trump pulled back on some of those tariffs that was going through, even though he did put some on China, but he pretty much backed down from most of it. There is no real rational reason to be putting tariffs on. Dude, we didn't win the last trade war. The last trade war, we lost an immense amount of stuff during the last trade war. There's no real reason to be trying to put tariffs on U.S. on Canada and Mexico. China, I'm kind of iffy on that, but there's still no real reason to come out the gate putting any type of tariffs on anybody, especially when the prices are already high right now. Since he did promise that he was going to bring those prices down, it looked like things are steadily going up. Let's go to the next item. I don't understand this idea that he's going to buy out people from the federal government. I don't understand how that works. Why would you go from a secure position that is unionized for you to come outside of that actual environment to go work in corporate America when you could be let go for any type of reason? I don't understand. You have a union in place. Now, for the leadership, they're not covered by the union. I was a person who did work for the federal government, so I do know how it works. And yes, most of the people who never paid for the union but used the hell out of it were conservatives. They did not pay for the union, but damn, did they use the union every chance that they got. So I'm just telling these people to just hold out for as long as you could. Don't take this paid administrative leave if you can actually absolutely help it. Because at the end of the day, this buyout is not going to mean anything. A pension is better than a buyout. If they had a better buyout system that's better than a pension, people would be taking it. This has never been offered in American history to people. The only thing they're trying to do is get control of those organizations so that way they could be able to mete out such retribution on people whoever they want to. I do not agree with that. All right. He sanctioned the International Criminal Court. Uh, you know who works at the International Criminal Court? I think John Smith works there. I think he went back there after he got through prosecuting Trump. I think he went back to the actual International Criminal Court, which he's now placing sanctions on. And it's pretty much a personnel thing. But there are things that the International Criminal Court actually do that people just don't talk about. The International Criminal Court prosecutes individuals, not states or organizations, for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community. These crimes include genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and crimes of aggression. This is what they do. Why would you want to sanction people who do things like that? I have no idea. It's a court that prosecutes criminals. And one of those criminals happened to be Benjamin Netanyahu, who they were trying to actually prosecute. I'm not sure what the actual status of that is, but that's what it is. And there's absolutely no reason to go around even doing this. No reason. Didn't need to be done. Again, all these people who are so called Trump fans, they're just trying to explain away these things as if it's part of some type of plan. Like this stuff is not part of some type of plan. This stuff is just happening and people are just reacting to it like it's positive, knowing full well that it's not positive. Now, this is one thing I actually do agree with. Order strikes on the Islamic State group in Somalia. No matter where the Islamic State is, the United States is going to hit them. I do agree with it. Let's move on to the next thing. Trump took action to end U.S. involvement in several UN institutions. The U.S. will no longer participate in the UN Human Rights Council. Why would the United States withdraw from the Human Rights Council unless you plan on doing some human rights abuses in the future somewhere, maybe even the United States. Also, the U.S. would conduct a review of its membership to the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization within 90 days. I'm not sure why you would want to withdraw from that either. That doesn't make any sense. Let's go to the next item on the docket. Now, you would have to know when Trump started doing these dragnets on actual immigrants across the country that those actual systems were going to be overloaded by a long shot. So this guy decided that he was going to be sending deportees to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba, even though the facility can house up to 30,000 people. Unbelievable. Sending people to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba for trying to deport them. This is crazy. You get to go to Guantanamo Bay, Cuba because you overstayed your visa or something like that. It's never been done. I think that place is a human rights abuse onto itself. I don't know why that's even happening. And somebody can't tell me why that's a good thing. Like there have been requisition orders open from the federal government contracting side for the actual, even during Obama's administration, there are still things open during his administration. His administration was a while ago. You have to understand that no one is going to build a prison that's going to be there temporarily. No one's going to do that. No one's going to allow their actual commercial real estate to be used for that as well. Because there was people who actually thought that they was going to get these contracts and they was just going to be warehousing these people in these actual industrial parks across the United States. And those people soon just said, hey man, we're not letting our actual commercial real estate to be retrofitted into some type of prison that would actually destroy the actual value of the real estate whenever you leave and depress all the real estate in the area. Like, no. But that's what they did. Let's go to the next slide. This is one I actually agree with. Demanded Ukraine provide rare earth resources. Rare earths are actual things that we need to make drones and aircraft carriers and most planes within the United States. And I actually do agree that if we are actually helping you fight Russia, you're going to have to kick up when it comes to providing us rare earth resources rather than us getting them exclusively from China. So this is one thing that he did do that I actually do agree with. So that's number two. All right, here's the next thing. One thing that I do every time I hear this word, I don't want to even talk to the person. Ban transgender competitors from women's sports. Okay, this is an issue I don't give a damn about. Period. Trust me. If you put your kids in protective gear and allow them to run into each other, it's pretty clear you don't care about your kids' safety. Okay? This whole transgender issue is less than 1% of people. I understand you animals don't even want to see these people anywhere. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to do this by an executive order. You're not going to be able to rule that by executive order. You're just not going to be able to do that. Every single province across the United States, how are you going to be able to manage that? As soon as it gets challenged, it will be dropped. A judge is going to step in and tell him that he doesn't have the authority and power to do it. What's going on, TJ? Let's go to the next item. This was a pretty dumb idea. Release water from dams in California. Look, if the state didn't want the water to be released, you don't release the water after they don't need the water in the area. Okay? This is something between the Army Corps of Engineers and people that work with the state. It didn't really require him to unilaterally decide to flood the area with water. That stuff is being managed on a particular scale that doesn't really involve him. And especially somebody as dumb and as unread as that guy, that just didn't need to be done. Here's one thing I definitely disagree with, but we understand how Christian conservatives claim to be the most, persecuted people on the planet. But Trump announced a task force to tackle anti-Christian bias. On Thursday, he signs an executive order aimed at protecting the religious freedoms of Americans and end the anti-Christian weaponization of government. What on earth does that mean? He appointed a newly confirmed Attorney General Pam Bondi to actually lead the task force to eradicate what he called Christian bias in the federal government. Trump signed an order giving remarks at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C. I think Christians is the I think that Christians are the largest group of people in the United States. Where's the anti Christian bias? Where is the anti Christian bias? Dude, you have people who sued to pray in schools. Only the Christian prayer, not the Muslim call to prayer, only that. They sued. And people had to pray before the actual football game. I think that was Louisiana. What on earth is going on here? Like, there is no anti Christian bias. Man, this stuff is crazy. This is something that is actually dangerous. This week, Trump removed climate change mentions from all government websites. So most of these .gov government websites, they don't even reference climate change anymore. I'm not sure how that's going to actually be able to stop climate change by just forgetting that this terminology is just not going to be on government websites. But at the end of the day, this is what these guys voted for. And he's actually delivering on whatever promises he is. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know what the anti-Christian bias is. No idea. For some reason, Trump is trying to give increased access to the government Department of Government Efficiency, this Doge thing that Elon Musk is with. He's trying to give them even more ability to shut down government organizations and place people on leave. I think this is very dangerous. We know what the actual situation would be if Barack Obama was president and George Soros came in an actual unelected role and started shutting down government organizations. The right wing would be lighting itself on fire. But for some reason, we're okay with an actual billionaire doing that, which is insane, which is not needed. That's why we have the legislative process. And this is something that is very dangerous. President Donald Trump revoked Joe Biden's security clearance and access to daily intelligence briefing on Friday. And according to his words from Donald Trump, there is no need for Joe Biden to continue receiving access to classified information. Trump wrote in a post on his Truth Social platform. Here's the thing: all living presidents get daily presidential briefings. They all still have security clearances. All of them do. Okay? They all do. Why would you suspend the outgoing president's access to a security clearance? Does that make any sense to anybody? It's never happened in American history, but it has happened this time. This is something I disagree with, but this is something that people also can't explain. Remember when at the start of the Ukrainian conflict, where the United States was having this task force, they were actually impounding and seizing assets from Russian oligarchs at the beginning of the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, Donald Trump scrapped the task force that seized the assets of Russian oligarchs. He scrapped that task force because I'm pretty sure that there's no prick pro quo going on there. He's just going to scrap things that the last administration put into place. Hell yeah, all this stuff is rogue. So spiritual most of it's rogue. Okay, so let me share this story right here. Okay. Trump's FCC launches probe into NPR and PBS, opening a new front in Trump's attack on the media. Now, he is under the guise, and I mean under the guise of making it look like he cares about for-profit commercials being shown on PBS and NPR, but that's just a way to get access to the actual resources and just go on a digging explanation. Yeah, yeah. So now they're going to go on on this fact-finding mission to find stuff to actually try to suspend their ability to be able to broadcast or to remove all the money from those organizations in total. Again, none of this stuff needs to be done. This stuff has never been done, but he find it possible for it to be happening. Unbelievable. Now all this stuff is corrupt and it's crazy, and this is just the first time that this stuff has been done. All right. So let's go to the last story here, which is incredibly dangerous. Probably more dangerous than anything else, but this is something that you can actually you should have thought was what was going to happen. Trump's actual pick for the attorney general forms a squad to take on Jack Smith and Letitia James as she probes their pursuit of Trump. Prosecutors prosecute. That's their job. I'm not sure what you could possibly look into from a federal standpoint if Letitia James is a state prosecutor, not a federal prosecutor. Those crimes that she charged Trump with were state charges. But then again, Trump did actually say that he was going to go after his enemies. And it doesn't matter whether it was Pam Bondi or the guy from Florida. His name escapes me right now. Oh, Matt Gaetz. They were going to do this thing. They were going to go after their actual enemies. There is no real rational reason to believe any evangelical Christian or any person on the right wing. They're all fascists. It's all fascism. They don't care about billionaires shutting down the government. They don't care about personal attacks on other people. But when they're in charge, they always attack other people. Then they expect people not to go after them when they're in charge. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. So that's what happened in this week. This week in the Trump administration. Now, what you did not hear is you did not hear the actual, you didn't hear BGS go over anything that happened in the Trump administration. The only thing he's trying to do is take advantage of the things that he think are positive and trying to actually label things as good and misrepresenting things. So, like for instance, BGS said this week that DEI only helped white women. That's not true. DEI helped a lot of groups of people. It started off with black, but then because black people were too stupid to create kids to actually go to the DEI program rather than let it go to waste, they expanded it to other people. just like how it happens with every other diversity initiative. Yes, disabled vets were part of the actual DEI system. Yes, a lot of people had a lot of problems hiring veterans who, especially when they got out of the military. Yes, that's why they stepped it up in that area too. But like a lot of people don't understand what DEI is. They just go after what they think DEI is. Because to the right wing, DEI means anybody except for a white incompetent male. That's what that means to the right wing. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a woman, if it's a minority, they must have got there through just being put there. It doesn't mean that they have any skills to be there, but that's the way they look at DEI, which they're actually getting rid of all these diversity initiatives across the federal government. And it wasn't even that many people who was qualifying for these things, especially minorities in the first place. But he wants to get rid of them, period. I say this: if you want to get rid of it, then get rid of all of it. So that way you can have the people from India and these fucking Asians whooping your motherfucking ass in the education department. If you want to get rid of all these diversity initiatives, then get rid of all of them. That includes legacy admissions in college. That's right. Your dumbass kid's gonna have to qualify for college just like everybody else. While these Indians and these fucking Asians gonna beat the brakes off your ass when it comes to actual education. You want to get rid of it? Get rid of all of it. For real. These people should have been actually fighting against that on that particular front for years. But these actual endowments from these institutions, these people donate a lot of money. They get their sons, their daughters, their cousins, their friends, everybody there. And then they want to take away the actual diversity initiatives while they do so. I think that's crazy. But that's where we're at. So that is all I have for this show. We went over a lot of information. At the end of the day, it is up to you to participate in the process where you're at. There is no legal, logical rationale for you to live in an area that is not good for you financially. I do not ever want to hear out of your mouth that, oh, both sides don't like you. Yeah, both sides don't like you means that you still have to participate in the process. When you talk about not taking a side, I'm gonna hit you in your fucking mouth or remove you from the conversation. I do it all the time. Once these people talk about not participating in the process, all these non political actors show up within the conversation. What you do is you remove those people from the conversation and you keep the progress going. Because at the end of the day, most of these people are political saboteurs. They see things are moving, they see that they're not benefiting, and the first thing they want to do is ride in and shut down progress with a whole bunch of ignorance or trying to have things turn into a comedy show when this stuff is clearly about information. So, with that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through on this Super Bowl Sunday. It looked like the Eagles was beating the brakes off of the actual Chiefs. I stopped watching the game. I started doing other things, but that's just the way we are. I want the Chiefs to keep winning because I don't want to hear this Tom Brady is the best ever bullshit. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of hearing it already. So hopefully they'll be back next year. With that said, I want to thank you guys for coming through on the Man Tomorrow. You guys have a really nice rest of y'all night. Peace.